Hello, for today's review I've got Cayin new amplification and digital analog conversion module made for Cayin N6 Mark II. It's T01. When Cayin announced their Cayin N6 Mark II, they've said that it's the first dub that uses replaceable not only amplification but also digital to analog converter stage, so they call this audio module. I will refer it this way in the review. And first module was built with AK4497, if I remember right, and OPA op amps. And then they soon announced their first replaceable module. They gave it name T01. It's built on Texas Instruments digital analog converters PCM1792 and same OPA op amps, and also they've added PGA chips for volume control. So basically two digital analog converters, 4 op amp chips and 2 volume control chips. So as you can see, fully balanced, totally independent channels. So really nice implementation. And everyone was waiting for this model because it was a reminiscence of their first digital audio player. It was first Cayin N6. It was kind of revolution when it was released. That time it used that PCM digital analog converters, and it offered really interesting, unusual, natural sound. And everyone was wondering, did this module allowed to get this sound? Actually, can we get first generation of N6 sound in the package of second generation? Let's find out. Actually, price is $340. In terms of power output, it's the same as stock model, a bit more than 500 milliwatts for 32 ohms load from balanced output, and 220 or something like that from single-ended. So now definitely let's have a closer look. So package is nice, black cardboard with white stripe. I want to remove it carefully, not to damage it, but of course you can tear it, rip and tear it apart. So inside you will have small manual, how to replace it, actually filter settings, some additional information. You will have 4 additional screws, just in case. You will have module itself and a screwdriver, Torx 5. Nice screwdriver, but actually it's not magnetic, so I don't like that because it usually causes losing of screws. And so I will use my own set. I really like this N6ii set. Don't forget to remove this rubber stopper, and let's try to do that. So first of all, ensure that it's turned off, and let's find appropriate bit. This one, or it isn't, or smaller one. So perform it in front of live audience. Unique, all-in-one, unique experience. So yeah, we need smaller one. So screw this out and a second one. And now be careful because it requires some force, and it would be logical to use some knife or something like screwdriver here, but it will definitely damage the paint, and I don't want to do that. So just use your fingers and carefully pull it out. That's it. And now we need to install the new model back. Gently push it. Well, I tried to read the manual, maybe I missed something, but actually then I did this way, like few good punches, and it solved everything. At least model is in place now. I suppose I didn't damage something inside, but we'll find out that right now. So let's screw it back. Non-magnet screwdriver actually will make it a bit more difficult. So, and now let's see, did I succeed? If it won't explode right in my hands, it means that I did everything okay. So looks like I replaced it. So it took few additional minutes, but actually this process is pretty simple and you can do it pretty easily, I'm sure. Just be careful and watch out. Good news everyone, it's working, and actually for you passed only a second during this cut, and for me it was 2 days when I was testing this model carefully and thoughtfully. So few additional figures. First one is that this model supports lower resolution than A01, because A01 supports 384 kHz and 32 bits, and this one supports only 192 kHz and 24 bits, and higher resolution files are downsampled because of this, because of PCM's digital to converter chip nature. I don't think it's a big issue, but it supports DSD up to 256, so if you have your collection of DSDs, they will play natively. And also it gives less work time. You can expect about 7 hours from balanced output and about 8-9 hours from single-ended output, because PCM chips are more power consuming, and probably because of volume regulation chips that were used here. So it's the tax that you pay for all the technology used here. And of course the main question is, did Cayin manage to repeat the sound of first N6? And you know the answer is yes, and the answer is no. So yes, no, maybe, who knows. Actually, but if say in short, actually, you know, it's the sound of first N6 as it would sound if it was created nowadays. I think about 5 years passed since the first version of N6 was introduced, and since that time Cayin engineers worked along line. They've really learned a lot of new stuff, and it's the sound of N6 re-implemented in a modern situation. Also, I must admit that I must admit few things that they've definitely improved compared with first N6. First one is background noise. It's almost, well, not deadly silent, but really silent, even with super sensitive in-ear monitors. You know, with the first version of N6 I'd got really noticeable background noise, and this one is almost silent. And also they fixed the main, well, not issue, but the main thing that I don't like with first N6. They've added more weight to the low frequencies, and actually, you know, it's linear, natural, resolving sound of N6, but with added weight on the lows. So compared with A01, you know, difference isn't big, but T01 model is more linear and more natural. It's not 100% natural, but it's leaning towards the natural side. So I will speak probably a bit more about conclusions later. So bass is less weighty, but actually they didn't make it more lightweight. They just shifted accent from mid bass to lower, deeper layers of bass and make it slightly less warm, so it's a bit more nimble, a bit more fast, and a bit more rich in terms of texturing and saturation. So it's a matter of preferences actually, which one is better. If you like more thicker, richer bass, then A01 will be your choice. If you like more lean signature like I do, if you like faster bass, then T01 you will like. And as an example, actually I could use this track, but usually I take Cayin, I listen Hugh, Laurie, and 6 Cold Feet is another great example of his talent, and it's nice slow tune with really good double bass part, and it's sounding really rich and really saturated. And actually with A01 this track sounding a bit too weighty on the lows for me, because size of the double bass was a bit bigger than it should be. It's just dominated a little bit, and this model really made acoustic bass proper in terms of size, in terms of weight, and a bit more saturated with overtones. So mids are linear, they are still emotional. It's not monitoring in terms of general representation. For example, iBasso DX220 is more monitoring and more focused on the micro detalization, while this one is more about macro dynamics. It's more about fast transients, it's more about some explosions, some emotions. New Cayin style, a new Cayin sound, it's emotions, it's rich, it's saturating everything with emotions, it's adding more of that. It's it's never sounding in a monitoring way, but of course it gives you nice resolution, and it gives you good imaginary stage. I'd say that stage here is a bit bigger compared with A01, but difference isn't huge, and also it's making depth a bit more noticeable, because it separates layers a bit, actually a bit stricter or a bit noticeable. So with A01 layers transition to one into another more smoothly, and here it's just moving everything more distant in terms of depth. I'm not sure which one version is more correct. I think it's also a matter of preferences, but I'm describing what I hear doing A/B tests. And as an example, I've got, here it is. Actually I can use this track as a bass example too, but it's Pain of Salvation acoustic album, Falling Home, and its cover version of famous classics Holy Diver. Rich saturated bass, nice really good recorded guitars, acoustic guitars with, I like acoustic instruments because when they are properly recorded you can close your eyes and you can imagine this instrument, you can imagine its body resonate, wood resonance, strings movement, and so on. And this model renders this, well, almost perfectly. Top of the line dubs would do that better, but this one is still doing it really nicely. And vocal is extremely good because of treble, actually, and it's giving more overtones. So treble with this model is also a bit more extended and a bit less softened, so it's more prominent, more noticeable treble. Difference isn't big. Once again, I must highlight that, because it's not night and day difference. You won't get totally 100% monitoring sounding dry sounding dub. It's just a slight shift towards this kind of neutrality. So you will have a bit better treble extension and a bit more saturated with overtones treble. So it will give you a bit more overtones and actually a bit more lively vocal. At the same time, it's more critical to the quality of recordings, because when something is wrong on the treble, some compression used, for example, you will hear that and it will give you, well, let's say not the best experience. And as an example, here it is, it's Roger Waters. I like that joke about Robert Plant while Roger Waters. So The Last Refugee, and nice track. Of course, Roger Waters' vocal isn't as good as 20 years ago, but still really nice. And of course, his political ideas didn't change with time. But what is important for us here, it's the fortepiano part, this key or maybe it's keyboard, not sure, but it's really nicely recorded and sounding really live-like, really realistic. And of course, fortepiano, I think it's a real instrument, not something synthesized. It's sounding really saturated, and actually it has a lot of overtones that goes high, and T01 plays them really nicely, especially paired with this with nice in-ear monitors. So to summarize everything, a bit more natural model, still emotional, still a bit shifted towards emotional side, not 100% natural, but a bit closer to neutrality compared with A01. If I try to say, if you like more vocal, if you like some acoustic instruments, if you like classical music, then you should probably select T01. As far as I know, you can now order N6ii with new module from distributors and dealers, so you don't have to buy A01 if you don't need it. And if you like, well, the train is passing by, let's hope it will pass quietly. And if you listen to some rock music, to some metal, when you need richer, warmer, thicker, more fatty sound with some even more additional emotions, or with some not every type of jazz, but with some subgenres of jazz, for example, A01 will be your better choice. So basically, if you like more linear sounding like I do, then T01 is your choice, and be prepared to pay with your battery life for that. If you like a bit more emotions and richer, warmer sound with more highlighted transients, then A01. I suppose I managed to express that clearly. So it was Cayin's T01. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.